tutorial is a special one for Valentine's Day. I really like how the reference photo, which I found on Unsplash, makes a little heart the way they set the cherries out. It's so pretty. I did this on a flight recently. Just ignore this crazed looking sheep there. I'll cover him up because he looks kind of wild. And I did this on a flight just in a little cheap sketchbook here, just to try to just test out some colors. I used cad red, magenta, sap, violet. I think that's dioxazine purple. And this is Aurelian yellow. I think that's what it is. And so I'm using similar colors. I'm going to use alizarin crimson for the darker areas of the red. Then cad red, you could use Sennelier red, naphthol red, pyrrole red, any kind of bright, kind of punchy red. Violet, which so this is Windsor violet. You could use dioxazine purple, carbazole purple, sap green, any green. You could make your greens. I'm just being lazy and using the sap green. And then I got transparent yellow. I didn't use much of the yellow. I think I did a little bit here and a little bit there just to give it some warmth. I probably used a little too much, but that's okay. So I've got my colors mixed up over here. So let's get started. I'm using this Escoda Perla size 10 round. So I'm going to get up really close so that you can see. This is, let it zoom in. This is a workhorse. I mean, you can see it's frayed. It's I use this for dry brush, for mixing my paints. It's a little stiffer than the natural bristle brushes, but it works really, really well. It holds a lot of water, but you can see this has been used, and it's still going to be used. This thing is, like I said, it is a workhorse brush. If I were Escoda, I would call it workhorse. Okay, so I drew the outline here, and then I took a kneaded eraser and lifted up some of the areas that I don't want the pencil lines to be too strong. And that's a nice tip to know about. You can also use masking tape and just lift it around the outline, and it'll lift up some of the graphite as well. So let's get started. Got my reference photo right here. I'm going to start with alizarin crimson and then just go over the whole cherry with the exception of the highlighted areas. And this is permanent alizarin crimson. I know there are some that are fugitive, meaning they will fade after a while. I'm going to take a damp brush. I just rinsed it out in water and dabbed out some of the moisture, and then I'm just going to kind of tickle these edges so I don't have hard lines. And rinsed it again, dabbed it. I don't want to introduce a lot of water, but I just want to soften these edges here. Just soften them. Already looks like a cherry. Okay, let's work on this one. Okay, I've rinsed my brush, dabbed it. Let's soften these edges. Rinse again. If you don't rinse it often and dab the excess water, you're just going to be smearing around all the red. That was a little too wet, so I'm dabbing it. Okay, we have two cherries here. They look so pretty. Okay, let this dry. Okay, this is dry, so I'm going to do the first wash, the first layer of the stems. Just with the sap green. I'm going to avoid this end here because we're going to add some other colors there. The noise you hear is Fluffy. She has a little ball of green yarn and she moves it often, and when she moves it, she likes to tell everybody, I moved the green yarn, and then she screams about it, has her own little parade until you come and pet her and praise her for moving the green yarn. That's her only job, and she's quite proud of it. So while this is still wet, I'm going to drop in a little alizarin crimson here at the base. That'll make a darker green. I'm going to do a little alizarin here and some yellow. I'm just kind of dropping in different colors. I'm going to drop in some purple in a second. That will neutralize the yellow. Ooh, that's a lot of purple. That's okay. Take a thirsty brush, lift some of it up. I'm going to drop in some more green. Just lifting some paint here. Okay, let's let this dry and I'll go praise Fluffy. Okay, I mixed up this color here with the violet and the transparent yellow to make a brown to add for the stem. So makes a really pretty brown. I'd rather mix browns than use brown from my palette. So I've got this size 0 round brush, trying to make some tiny lines here at the base of the stem. And there's a little darker on this side of that stem. So I'm just making a line just on the outside. And then I'm rinsing it out, dabbing it. I don't want it too wet, and just tickling that edge, kind of smoothing it out some. It's pretty brown down there, so I'll just drop in some more and just let it move where it wants. Smooth this edge just a little. I said I'd let it go where it wants, and here I am fiddling with it. I can't help myself sometimes. Okay, let's go over here and add just a little bit of this brown just on the edge here. Damp brush, smooth it. I'm going to let this dry before I do this, because that will just all bleed together. So I'm just going to add some of this brown here on the stem. Just kind of dropping it in, dabbing it here and there. And then I'm going to take a damp brush and just smooth it. That will make it look like it has those little brown spots without being too in your face. Dab this with a damp brush. I think I might add some yellow in here. Yeah, it needed that. A little bit more yellow over here. Some more sap green right here. I'm just fiddling with the colors. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. Really like that stem right there. That turned out really good. Let it dry, and then we'll work on this stem. Okay, this is dry. Now I'm going to make the shadow here where this stem is overlapping. There's a little shadow on the bottom stem, using a little of the sap green, coming in with a damp brush. I think I drop in a little bit of this brown that I created. Now we want some brown. Ooh, that's a lot of brown. This brush holds more than I think it does. So I'm just adding some of the brown down here, just on the outside, and damp brush to smooth it here. And add some more green. Oh yeah, that's it. This is just a damp brush here. It's a little bit browner down here. So I'm just going to drop some in. I added a little bit of that brown to this green. So I'm going to go on just the outside of this stem. And then damp brush. Damp brush. just going on the outside and then bringing some damp brush on the inside for the paint to have a place to move. Now this is dry, so I'm going to add a few more some more of this dark value. Let's drop in some yellow. Need to darken the shadow here. And then damp brush to spread it out. Okay, let's work on this red. Let's work on the cherry. So this first layer was the permanent alizarin crimson. Now I'm going to do another layer with the alizarin before I add the cad red. So this alizarin crimson is a transparent color, and the cad red is a opaque color. So I wanted to use the opaque color last, because you can't really paint over the opaque color too well. So what I'm doing here is I'm looking where it's pretty dark, and I'm just going where it's really, really dark. And I'll be smoothing the edges. There's like a little highlight in there. Now I've got my damp brush here. And just smoothing the edges. I'm just carrying this water all the way over here. I'm going to add some more paint in a minute. Just want to make sure I don't get any hard lines. And if I get hard lines, that's okay. Oops, I dipped in the cad red. Oops. Okay, it's pretty dark over here. And it's dark right through here. And here at the bottom. Let me smooth this edge here. Almost lost that highlight, but I I can lift it up with a thirsty brush. It's getting it. Got my highlight back. Just doing this, lift, keep lifting. The water is always going to want to go where there is no water, so you just keep lifting. Makes a very, very soft edge. It's so pretty. Looks like a cherry. Okay, let me get the other cherry going. I need more paint. This is just alizarin crimson. Okay, damp brush. It's really dark up in there, so I'm just bringing some water and spreading, letting the paint have a place to move to. The rest of this just gets water for now. It's pretty dark in here. I rarely mix up enough paint. That's just me. Drop in some of this alizarin way over here. It's dark on this side. Okay, it's getting pretty dry here, so I'm just taking this damp brush and I'm unifying it there. Back here, it's really dark. Just taking a slightly damp brush and just bringing a little bit of that red over here, leaving a white highlight right where you see it over here. You could mask that, but I'm being brave. Okay, let's let this dry. Okay, I'm going to do some lifting up here on this stem. I think it's just a little too dark. So I've got this cheap acrylic brush here, acrylic fibers here that came with my gouache set, Hemi gouache set. So I just got it wet, dampen, take a little bit of the water out, and I'm just going to scrub. This will lift really easily. You see, I've got my highlight already. Rinse it, dab it. You don't want it too wet. I'm just kind of going down the center here because it would be lighter in the center. And just lifting some of it up. Okay, I need to rinse my brush again. You see that just gave it form right there. Okay. Rinse, dab. You don't want it too wet. It's wet on like the top side there. Oh, that's good. Use a new section, a clean section of your paper towel. Don't try to go down with the dirty section because you'll just be adding more paint when you're trying to lift. I say all this because I have made all those mistakes. Take some of the water out. Okay, I think I need, where was I? This right here to blend a little better. Okay, I'm not going to mess with the cherries anymore because I'm about to glaze it with some of the cad red. Oh, I see. This needs some lifting in here. I've got some a little too dark. Need some of that yellowish color to come through. And that brown's just too overpowering. Now when that dries, I can add some more of the dark. Look at that, I've got paint all over me. Okay, I think we're pretty much done. Let me do a little bit right in here. Can't find a clean spot. Okay, I think I'm just going to leave that alone, see what I think when everything is dry. I like it, it looks like cherries. Okay, this is all dry. Now I got this cad red, and I switched to a natural hairbrush, a Kolinsky Sable brush, because I'm going to be glazing over here, and so as to not disturb the layer below, it's better to use the softest brush you have so it doesn't, dig in and try to stir up that paint. So that's why I'm using this brush. Now I'm just going to go over the whole thing, including the highlights. It should still be lighter under here because it's just going to be one layer here. And if it's not bright enough, I can definitely lift some. Now this cad red is just going to brighten it up. It's just going to make it cherry. You'll still have the dark values underneath. Now, rinsed out my brush. I'm going to do a little lifting here. Get some of this highlight back. I'm going to use my workhorse brush, the Perla, and dab a little bit of it up. I lost all my highlight up there. That's okay. I will get it back once this is dry. I will lift it up. Got some back here. Oh, it's so pretty. It's a cherry. Okay, we've got another one to do. Going over the highlight with a damp brush. Lifting some more up. Get my workhorse for that. This up here is very, very dark. Okay, let's let this dry. It's so pretty. I have cherries. Okay, this is dry. Now I need to come in with this really, really dark area here around where the stem is. And I've mixed up some alizarin crimson with some of the violet. It's pretty dark. Let me add a little more red to it. Let's see what color it looks like. Yeah, that's dark. It's kind of dark purpley. But if you look at that, that really is kind of a dark purple. So I've got this really tiny brush, this 0, to come in here and add those darks. Now I'm using a damp brush. Soften those edges. Let's drop some more right in here. I want it really dark where the stem is. Okay, we need to do the same over here. Damp brush. little dark here, right where the stem is attached. Okay, with this same color here, we're going to work on a little bit of the dark here, here, around there. Just doing another little glazing. Yeah, it's dry enough. I've got this damp brush here, and I'm just going to soften these edges. I need a little bit more over here. And then at the bottom, okay, I think I'll leave that alone and see what it looks like when it's dry. Coming over here. I'm just going where I see it's darker in the reference photo. Just softening these edges. This is so pretty. I'm going to drop in some of this cad red just because it's there and it was calling to me. Okay, I'm going to take this damp brush and kind of smooth that out, leaving highlight still. Get my workhorse. Let's do some more lifting. Okay, let's let this dry. I think it's really pretty. Cherries. Okay, so the cherries are dry. They're really pretty. I love them. I love the bright red. So now I'm going to work on the shadow. And I'm just going to wet the paper. Just get it wet. I'm making the shadow, or I'm making the paper wet further than my outline is, because I want it to have room to grow and have a soft line. And use clean water. Don't use your water that has red all in it, because you will see that hard line of that light red. I'm going to let this soak in for a minute or two. This one looks good. I'm going to just get a little bit on my brush. Go right here at the bottom. I think I'm going to add some of the cad red in there. The color I mixed was just the alizarin crimson and the violet and some of the transparent yellow. I'm just kind of cleaning it up. I don't want it to spread too much. Okay, I think this one is good. I'm just putting it right here at the base of the cherry. And then rinse my brush out and just kind of corral it there. I want it to stay there. Put a little of the cat red. Okay, I'm going to let this dry and see what I think, see what I need to do. I'm just dabbing up some of this excess water here. Let it dry. Okay, I like the shadow. It's not too strong, it's not too spread out. I think it's just perfect for this. So I'm looking at the reference photo, and this is where you can start kind of fiddling and do some fine tuning. I'm not going to do a lot. I am going to scrub a little bit out here to get a little bit brighter highlight there. Oh yeah, that's good. Let's see where else. I think a little bit right here. Oh yeah, it won't take much. And this over here, I kind of lost a lot of my highlight there. A little here. I could make that a little brighter. Doesn't really need it too much. I think it's good enough. Oh, I like this. Okay, I'm going to let all this dry and then come back and evaluate it one last time. Okay, it's all dry. I'm calling it done. I really like this. I love the heart-shaped stems. That's just so pretty. So this could be a Valentine's card. It could be just a Valentine's painting you give to somebody. Just have some fun with it. And thanks so much for being a subscriber.